I'm in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and that's where the Plymouth Rock is. And this is why I walked up this hill. Ready? This is the second one I have found on this trip. One was a Mohawk, and supposedly this is somebody just told me it's a Massasoit. This is a Massasoit Indian. Absolutely magnificent. Magnificent. I'm a moccasin wearer. I wear boots, but Massasoit, great sachem of... there's the Wampanoags. Finally, I have seen them mentioned again somewhere on this trip. The Massasoit, great sachem of the Wampanoags, protector and preserver of the pilgrims. 1621, there's the peace pipe, erected by the Improved Order of Red Men as a grateful tribute. I was at a Mohawk place on the Mohawk Trail a few weeks ago. Wow, wow, wow. So this is our history, and it's being worn away from us. National Day of Mourning. Since 1970, Native Americans have gathered at noon on Coles Hill in Plymouth to commemorate a National Day of Mourning on the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. Many Native Americans do not celebrate the arrival of the Pilgrims and other European settlers. To them, Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of their people, the theft of their lands, and the relentless assault on their culture. Participants in National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggles of Native peoples to survive today. It is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as a protest of the racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience. Erected by the town of Plymouth on behalf of the United American Indians of New England. The leaders of the tribes across this nation need to come together for a council. They need to come together for a circle around the fire. And they need to open the gates. In memory of the Pilgrim fathers and mothers whose heroic idealism established the basic principles of the government of our land, presented by the Society of Daughters of Colonial Wars, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 1927. Massachusetts has lost its moorings. They're talking about a card, a vaccine certificate. You can't do that, Massachusetts. You might as well print up yellow stars. Of the 104 passengers, these died in Plymouth during the first year. They gave their life. They knew what they were doing coming over here. The bones of the Pilgrims, found at various times in and near this enclosure and preserved for many years in the canopy over the rock, were returned at the time of the tercentenary celebration and are deposited within this monument. So it's basically a sarcophage, erected by the General Society of Mayflower Descendants, AD 1920. This monument marks the first burying ground in Plymouth of the passengers of the Mayflower. Here, under cover of darkness, the fast dwindling company laid their dead, leveling the earth above them. Lest the Indians should learn how many were the graves. There's a word missing. Reader. History records no nobler venture for faith and freedom than that of this Pilgrim band. In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and cold, they laid the foundations of a state wherein every man, through countless ages, should have liberty to worship God in his own way. May their example inspire thee to do thy part in perpetuating and spreading the lofty ideals of our republic throughout the world. Those ideals are founded on the book. About, with an E, 100 souls came over in this first ship and began this work, which God of his goodness hath hitherto blessed. Let his holy name have ye praise. Bradford, 1650. I just had a long conversation with a man that I went on that rock jetty. I walked all the way out to the end, and I sat there for a little while, and a man came out, and he had walked, and he does it periodically. And our worldviews are opposite, of course. But some of the things that he thought were so twisted as far as the scriptures and stories and people reading extra biblical accounts. We can't do that. These people founded their lives on that book. And that book has all we need. And people need to know what's in the book. This is where it all started. But America's lost its moorings, and she needs to be brought back to harbor. And I'm hoping that what I was perceiving last year was that we are a ship, and we are roped, and we are tied, and the rope's been being let out. And at some point, that ship turned all its engines on, and we've been full throttle down, going away from the harbor that we're supposed to be moored in. This harbor, this place. It's Plymouth Rock down into that pavilion under there. Of course, they got it flipped over. They don't have the real words that were etched on it up. They flipped the rock over like 20 years ago. And I've perceived that when this ship reaches the end of the rope, if it's not been cut, and there is a people that's going to hold the principles, and there is a citizenry that wants to stay free, no matter what that means for us, then that ship is going to hit the end of that rope, and it's going to be a jolt, a hard jolt. And I'm hoping that we get jolted and people turn back and wake up. Because if not, we're barreling towards everything that's written in that book. Everything that's written. And we need to be telling people that we have the answers. And we have the direction. And there are some of us who have been being prepared and trained to help us through this transition, through this season, through this time. And we haven't even seen the shakings yet in the United States. They haven't even begun. Not really. Not the kind of stuff that's going to jolt people. We were kind of slid slowly a little bit into COVID, but this other stuff that's going to happen, my hope is that people wake up. Erected by the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the landing of the Pilgrims. And behind over there is the Mayflower II. It was done in the 1950s, commissioned in the 1950s. A little boat those people came over on to worship God. Some people don't believe that's true, but I'm telling you, you can't be following a man to do what they did. Some people say they were just following William, but they had an ideal, and they wanted to be free, and we need to be free. But I'm not sure what it's going to take to get that back. Shalom. Shalom.